Hey guys, welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. I'm Rob Mackenzie LaFergie. Comics as we know them now have been around for almost a century. In that time, we've been introduced to an awful lot of supervillains. However, they don't always stay the same. Often these villains change their ways, changing their looks, personalities, and even changing sides at times. So let's talk about some of my favorite changes in supervillains. Here are the top 10 supervillains before and after. Number 10. Roderick Kingsley, best known as Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin's one of Spider-Man's best known criminals, and the mantle's been passed down several times over the years. But Roderick Kingsley, the original Hobgoblin, went through a pretty significant change himself. After going underground when the world thought him dead, it was actually his brother who died as Hobgoblin, he resurfaced as Devil Spider, who basically looks like a combination of Daredevil and Spider-Man. And he looks really awesome. He ended up selling old supervillain identities and equipment while committing his own crime and heists too. Personally, I definitely prefer Hobgoblin, but Devil Spider is a pretty great villain. Number 9. Paste Pot Pete. Yep, we gotta go back to an old classic with one of the dumbest names ever. His name was so dumb that he changed it just 3 years after his introduction, after being teased mercilessly by Spider-Man. Now, one might argue that while changing his name, he should also have chosen a new shtick, since the glue thing wasn't exactly working out so great for him. But he likes it, I guess, and took on the name of the Trapster when he formed the Frightful Four. Which, I'll admit, is a better name. But whatever you call him, a glue-wielding villain doesn't sound very intimidating. Sorry, Petey. Number 8. Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom is one character that had stayed relatively constant for some time before changing considerably more recently, and I absolutely love his transformation. Dr. Doom started as a famous villain of the Fantastic Four, the genius inventor slash sorcerer slash guy who's super self-conscious about a little scar. But more recently he's taken to heroics, righting many of his wrongs and even taking up the mantle of Iron Man while Tony Stark's out of commission, against Tony's wishes. This new Doom keeps much of his pessimistic grumpiness, and seeing him looking out for humanity is a pretty awesome change. Number 7. OCTAVIUS. Dr. Octopus is one of Spider-Man's most popular villains, and he's seen significant changes to his character over the years. When first introduced in 1963's Amazing Spider-Man number 3, he was a mad genius trying to take over the world with the help of his robotic arms. As he developed, he proved himself to be an incredibly worthy foe of Spider-Man, showing the extent of his worth when he defeated Peter, swapping minds with him just as Otto's body was dying. This marked a huge transition for Doc Ock as he took over as Superior Spider-Man, becoming the hero he thought Spider-Man should have been. It's pretty satisfying to see villains go good for a time, and Doc Ock did a pretty damn good job. Number 6. THADDEUS THAWNE II. THADDEUS THAWNE II is a clone of Bart Allen with some Thawne DNA mixed in. He was created when Bart refused to join President Thaddeus Thawne, and he's had more frickin' names than Cheryl from Archer. Acting as a villain for Bart Allen as well as other flashes, he changes his name in true Thawne fashion to thoroughly confuse comic readers. Hi, Thaddeus II, right? No, it's Inertia. Oh, sorry Inertia, I could have sworn it's Kid Zoom now! Oh, okay, so you're like a kid version of Professor Zoom or Zoom? What? Shut up, I'm Reverse Impulse! Okay, number 5. The Many Faces of Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock was introduced back in 1988 when he combined with the alien symbiote to become Venom. He had a bunch of adventures as Venom ranging from full villainy to anti-heroics, but his time in the limelight didn't end when the Venom symbiote left him. After the symbiote leaves and Brock is healed by Martin Lee, the symbiote returns and interacts with Lee's powers and the remnants still inside Eddie, turning him into anti-Venom. Now he was more heroic, albeit remaining a pretty ruthless dude. But wait, there's more. Brock was later kidnapped by Crime Master and forced to bond with a new symbiote, becoming Toxin. At first, this went pretty badly, but he eventually gained control and returned to his chaotic anti-hero ways. Number 4. Mac Gargan. If we're talking symbiotes, I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention the many mantles of Mac Gargan. Gargan was introduced in 1964 in The Amazing Spider-Man number 14, soon becoming Scorpion, one of Spidey's earliest and most popular foes. Returning to battle Spidey time and time again, Scorpion became a constant thorn in his side. But when the Venom symbiote separated from Eddie Brock, it saw Gargan as a good host due to his anger and hate for Spider-Man, and bonded with him. In the following years he went through a variety of forms, taking on a Spider-Man form thanks to Norman Osborn, and even becoming a Venom-Scorpion amalgamation for a time, before ultimately returning to his OG role of Scorpion. So I suppose this before and after kinda starts and ends in the same place, but the middle is pretty interesting. Number 3. Lex Luthor. Lex is probably the biggest Superman villain of all time, and he's changed considerably as a character since his first appearance in 1940's Action Comics number 23. First of all, he used to be ginger, so there's that. Later, however, Lex took on a more familiar and less hairy appearance, taking on the form we know today. I don't know about you, but for me, the real Lex Luthor is the one from the Superman animated series. However, this business suit look wasn't permanent, as Lex took to actually taking things into his own hands. He decided he needed a suit to keep up with the supers, creating a power suit that, let's be real, is pretty sick. But his appearance isn't the only thing that changed. When he was first introduced, Lex was basically your run-of-the-mill villain, making evil plans and wanting to take over the world. But as the years went by, he became more complicated and better, showing that he seems to have relatively good intentions and is trying to help mankind. Is he misguided? Probably. But it's way more interesting than some dude just being a jerk. Number 2. Norman Osborn. This is one villain who has gone through some super significant changes over the years. As you almost certainly know, Norman Osborn was the original Green Goblin, going up against Peter Parker as Spider-Man. However, Norm has been busy since his defeat as Green Goblin. Like Dr. Doom, Norman had a stint in Iron Man armor, taking on the role of Iron Patriot during the Dark Reign storyline. He actually acted as a hero for much of this time, but it didn't last long, and he soon returned to his normal goblin-y self as Goblin King, taking over half of New York's organized crime and destroying those who opposed him. Personally, I prefer Norman in the villain role, so I was pleased to see him return to Goblinhood. Number 1. The Joker. The Joker has been around for decades, so it's no surprise that he's had a few changes to keep with the times. He was first introduced as the Red Hood before being reintroduced as his Joker persona. As the Joker, he started out as a rather campy character, essentially what you'd expect if somebody made a villain based on the Joker playing card. Over the years, however, his character's become significantly darker, changing both in looks and somewhat in personality to fit the times. In the comics and animated works like The Killing Joke, we've learned more about his past and what makes him tick. He's also taking on a number of forms in film, from the more classic Jack Nicholson version, that's my personal favorite, to the complex and eerily quiet Heath Ledger version, to the Jared Leto version. The development of the Joker was one of the most interesting character stories I've seen in quite some time. That's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please smack that delicious thumbs up button and subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more videos. I know I included a bunch of Spidey villains, but what can I say? Spider-Man has awesome villains. Just be glad I didn't rant about Kraven the Hunter again. Let me know if there are any villains you'd like to see highlighted in part 2. Until next time, I'm Ron McKenzie with Top 10 Nerd. Later, nerds.